Yes, that's the Wattstax concert, 1972. And I came on here because I wanted to answer a few questions that's been asked to me. I'm OG Skeeter Rabbit, the Bad Habit Rabbit. And yes, I'm broadcasting live right here on the Facebook page to answer those questions that some of you have asked of me. You wanted to know, why do I do this? Why have I done this the last 20 years and been so passionate? It's because I knew how powerful your generation is. I knew that if I could inspire this generation to take up the movement that it was destined to take up, just as we were destined to take up a movement out of 1972, that we as dancers had the power to change the world. I watched a worldwide movement under the banner of hip hop encompass the world. What I didn't watch was the people that were designed to teach it, to teach how powerful your generation could be in the movement. So my initial goal was to inspire that movement by teaching of the movement in the past and how powerful it was in bringing dance to you through social conscious music and through the movement for equality and for a unity and for justice out of the 1960s and 70s, that now your generation had a worldwide power to take up. But as in all situations stemming back from the early 1970s, there's forces that do not want that power of a movement to take place. So it relegates what you do to simple entertainment. You are the next movement in dance, inspired by the revolution of music that now has encompassed and encircled the world. Now, when I did this, I knew that we didn't have a presence on the internet. So me, along with Greg Campbell Jr., Tony Gogo, and a few others, I sat down, and for 3 days, I put the Locker Legends website together with input from dancers that you'd never heard of before, the Ghetto Dancers, the Watts Writers Workshop background and crew, 33 RPM's background and crew, all the dancers that I could find that were out of that era. And we put Locker Legends website together. But it didn't stop there. When the internet boomed with the social media, we came on to social media and we put it out with a Locker Legends page, thanks with the help with Rob One, who created a Lockers United page and realized that it needed to have some more substance. So he allowed it to be changed and asked me to change it to Locker Legends. But when you do things like that with a purpose and a background and a social movement, you're going to run across opposition. And we did. We ran across the same things that I ran across in the 70s. We ran across people that did not want the message of the music and the message of a social movement, a cultural social movement, to take place because they knew how powerful your generation was. But we continued to push and put it out there. Now we've started KLOC, Rhythmic Movement Radio. People say, well, why did you start a radio station, OG? I said, because people didn't understand the music that was inspiring the movement. They didn't understand the terminology and the lyrics of the music. They didn't understand the power of the bass and the bottom and how it manifested itself from the old school of Africa and the rhythm of the drums and the messages. We needed to put that information out, but we needed an avenue in which we could play all of the music so we could get the inspiration of the music. So we put Rhythmic Movement Radio together. And on there, we do several things. We do several shows. Now, why is this so important to me? You know why? Because your OG came along in the radio era. I came along where in South Central Los Angeles, Watts and Compton, there was a radio station called KGFJ. And KGFJ put it out there every morning. When we didn't have CDs, we didn't have videos, we didn't have any of that to dance to. We turned on that radio station in parking lots, high school parking lots, and we danced to the DJs. The DJs that put the message out like Locker Legends is putting the message out to you. DJs like the Magnificent Montague, The Magnificent Montague became famous and infamous at the same time. Why? Because he had various taglines that had become very popular. He used to have the young ladies to come on their way to high school, on their way to school, and they would say, "I want to testify, Montague." And they would tell about the issues and what was important to them. He also had a very prominent tagline. He hollered, "Burn, baby, burn." But as you know, there were a lot of riots and unrest in the 1960s. 1965, when he was using that tagline, he got called on it. He actually lost his job because they said he was inciting the unrest. So the Magnificent Montague is another pioneer that we want to recognize, and we want to carry on the movement of that. And we do it with K-Lock Radio. K-Lock Radio, we need to understand that it was necessary to teach all of the social conscious issues that take place. We do a social conscious music show on K-Lock Rhythmic Movement Radio, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday evenings, where we go through some of the prominent artists that risk their careers to put out the social conscious lyrics of that movement. Artists like Gil Scott-Heron, James Brown, and others that told the truth in their lyrics of what the movement was about. Those are the lyrics, along with the rhythm of the drum, that inspired locking. And we want to bring in and explain those to you because we realize that there's a generation out there that don't understand. They just think the bottom is the bottom. They think that's the total inspiration of the dance. So we put out K-Lock Rhythmic Movement Radio. For all you old schoolers that realize that when I talk social conscious, I mean socially, we came together and we discussed and we talked and we dealt and we planned and we created. Socially, a lot of that came with the slow jam house party that we put on Friday nights, with all of those slow cuts of those crooners that sung, that allowed us to get close together and talk. We do all jazz Sunday and Wednesday, smooth jazz and all jazz, because jazz has a background. Yes, it does. It has a background in rhythm and blues. It has a background where we have what's called a jam session. Jam sessions in jazz is the same as jam sessions in dance, where dancers come together, somebody holds down the cipher, somebody held down the bottom in a jazz jam, and everybody improvised. So there's a history to these things. And we want you to realize that during that history comes the real of street dance and the real of the music and the incidents that inspired street dance. So I jumped on here just to enlighten you that we're still moving and moving on, and that your generation is a generation to push and carry it on if you're willing to take on that education before you start recreating. That's the key to the whole thing. Now, you want to know how you find K-Lock Radio Station? It's been here for quite a while, a little bit for you. All you got to do is click on the link on the top of this Facebook page here, the Locker Legends link, and it streams 24 hours at that website, where you not only can listen to the radio station, but you can read what various legends have put together about the history of locking from the streets perspective. Yes, we include the entertainment perspective and the competition perspective, but from the original street perspective of what it meant to that movement that we're talking about. And I'm not talking about the moves. I'm talking about the social movement for change. And I want you also to realize that we at Locker Legends are here to educate before we recreate. So join us on Rhythmic Movement Radio. We're going to add links so that you can pull it up on your phones. You can pull it up on your internet. We're going to add the links that goes directly to Rhythmic Movement Radio, and join us. And don't just join us. You want to create a movement? Pass it on. Pass it on so that it grows and so that people start to understand that we aren't just entertainers. We play a prominent role in change in this world, and we can do it through dance. Peace to you. I'm OG Skeeter Rabbit. Much love, and I'm out. See you next time.